On the first day of my sophomore year, I stared at the roommate across from me for a full 3 seconds. She was grinning as she tore open a delivery package with no idea she was already pregnant. In my past life, I'd had no clue either. I'd let her drag me right into her mess. I'd accompanied her to the clinic, helped her hide it from her parents, and fronted the money for her procedure. And what did I get for it? Her boyfriend's parents showed up on campus, calling me an accomplice. I got a major disciplinary probation on my record, lost my guaranteed graduate school admission, and watched my entire life veer off course. This time, I'm reborn. The first thing I do is bolt straight for the academic advisor's office. Ms. Davis, I'd like to terminate my on-campus housing contract. I have family matters to attend to, and I need to live off campus. My roommate chases after me and grabs my arm. Why are you moving out all of a sudden? Is it because of me? I yank my hand away. It's not about you. I just want to live at home. A month later, the entire dorm building erupts in chaos. But I'm sitting at home, quiet and perfectly content. The sharp acrid smell of disinfectant jolted me back to the present. I blinked my eyes open. The ceiling was that familiar off-white, crisscrossed with faint cracks. The dorm fan creaked and whirred above my head. Across the room, my roommate Sophia was holding a brand new dress up to her body in front of the mirror. Emma, what do you think of this dress? She turned and smiled at me, sweet and dimpled, her eyes crinkling into half moons. In my last life, those same eyes had filled with tears as she'd said, Emma, we're best friends. You have to help me. And I had. I'd scraped together every cent of my living allowance, plus money I'd lied to my parents about needing for classes, to cover her medical bills. I'd covered for her when her parents called, telling them we'd pulled an all-nighter studying at the library. I'd stood alone and taken every insult when her boyfriend's parents stormed the school, screaming that I was a corrupting influence and an accomplice. And what had it gotten me? A major disciplinary probation. My grad school guarantee revoked. That indelible stain on my permanent academic record cost me my dream job offer. As for her, after 6 months recovering at home, her parents sent her abroad. She came back a polished, poised socialite like nothing had ever happened. She didn't even say thank you before she left. All she did was post an Instagram, letting go of the wrong people to make room for the right view. The photo was her plane ticket and passport. My whole life apparently was the wrong person she was leaving behind. Emma, you okay? You look awful. Sophia's voice pulled me out of my head. She set the dress down and walked toward me, concern on her face. Her hand was about to touch my forehead. I jolted upright, leaning back hard to avoid her touch. Don't touch me. My voice was rough, hoarse. Sophia froze. The other 2 roommates, Lily and Mia, paused what they were doing and looked over. Emma, did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Lily snapped. She'd always been closest to Sophia. I ignored her. I threw back the covers, swung my legs over the bed, and started hunting for my shoes. After the searing pain in my skull faded, my mind was crystal clear. Sophomore year, first day, September 3rd. From the timeline of my last life, Sophia didn't even know about the baby growing inside her yet. She wouldn't figure it out for another 2 weeks, when morning sickness sent her to the campus health center. Then she'd come back crying, holding that lab slip, and begged me for help. I couldn't wait, not even 1 more second. I found my shoes, slipped them on, and headed for the door. Where are you going? Sophia called after me. Out. I didn't look back. Emma. She chased after me and grabbed my arm, nails digging into my skin. What is wrong with you? Are you mad at me? Is it because I didn't grab you breakfast this morning? Her grip was tight, her nails sharp through my sleeve. Same old trick. Soft words, sharp actions. That's how she'd pulled me in last time, step by step until I was drowning right alongside her. I wrenched my arm free hard enough that she stumbled back and hit the door frame. Emma, Lily shrieked, rushing over to steady her. Are you insane? I looked at Sophia's instantly glistening eyes, her face crumpling like she was about to burst into tears. I felt nothing. I pulled the dorm door open and walked straight out. Behind me, I could hear Sophia's muffled sobs and Lily's angry shouts. I blocked it all out. I walked fast down the hall, down the stairs, with one single destination in mind. The academic advisor's office. I had to get my housing termination approved today. Before any of it started. Whoever wanted to deal with this mess could have it. I wasn't letting her ruin my life a second time. Advisor Davis was sorting through new student paperwork when I burst in, sweating. She jumped a little. Emma, what's going on? Ms. Davis, I want to terminate my on-campus housing contract. Terminate it. She blinked. It's only the first day of classes. Why? Family stuff. My parents want me to commute so they can keep an eye on me. It was the most airtight excuse I could come up with on the walk over. Your family lives in the next state over. Right. Commute. She frowned. My parents are renting an apartment near campus. I said immediately. They already found a place. That's pretty sudden. I know. It all happened really fast. She pushed her glasses up and studied me. I knew the excuse was flimsy, but there was no hard rule that could stop me. University policy allowed local students or students with special circumstances to live off campus with parental approval. Is this a conflict with your roommates? She asked. Not at all. I said firmly. My roommates are great. This is purely a family decision. I couldn't let Sophia get dragged into this, not to protect her, to protect myself. If I said it was a roommate conflict, the school would want to mediate. Room swaps, meetings, back and forth, time I didn't have. By the time Sophia's secret came out, I'd still be stuck in that dorm. It would be too late. Advisor Davis was quiet for a moment. She pulled a form out of her desk drawer. Take this home. Have one of your parents sign it. Get it stamped by the university housing office. Then bring it back to me. Thank you, ma'am. I took that thin sheet of paper like it was a ticket to a brand new life. I turned and left, not wanting to stay a second longer. Right outside the office door, Sophia was waiting. Her eyes were still red, like a scared little rabbit. Emma, what were you talking to Ms. Davis about? She stepped forward, reaching for my hand again. I stepped back, tucking the form behind me. Nothing. I heard you, she said, voice wobbly with tears. You're moving out. Why? Is it because of me? Her voice was just loud enough for passing students in the hallway to hear. A few people were already glancing over, whispering. I didn't want to stand here and argue with her. It's not about you. I tried to step around her. She blocked my path, arms outstretched. Tell me why. Aren't we best friends? What can't you tell me? Did Lily say something to you? Is that why you're leaving? In 3 sentences. She'd cleared her own name and pointed the finger at someone else. Classic move. I stared at her, cold and steady. Sophia, move. No. She stared back, tears welling in her eyes. Not until you tell me the truth. I took a deep breath. I knew she wouldn't let me leave until I gave her a reason. Fine. You want to know. I looked her dead in the eye. Slow and deliberate. I think this dorm has bad vibes. It's messing with my luck. Sophia's face went blank. Those teary eyes filled with confusion. Bad vibes? Yep. I nodded. Dead serious. My mom had someone look into it. Living here is giving me a streak of bad luck. At best, I'll fail my classes. At worst, serious physical misfortune. I laid extra emphasis on that last part. A few students lingering nearby snickered. Sophia's face flushed bright red, then went pale. She'd probably expected me to say something like, I need quiet to study. She never would have guessed I'd hit her with something so ridiculous. So unarguable. So downright embarrassing. That's crazy. She sputtered. Believe what you want. I held up the form, waving it lightly. I'm moving out either way. I brushed past her and kept walking. This time, she didn't stop me. I could feel her stare and everyone else's burning into my back. I didn't care. Better to be the weird girl than the doormat. Back in the dorm, Lily and Mia were both there. Lily's face was icy the second she saw me. Emma, what did you say to Sophia? She ran out crying. Nothing. I walked to my bed, pulled out my suitcase from under it, and started packing. You're actually moving? Mia asked quietly. Tentative. I hummed in confirmation. This is so messed up. Lily raised her voice. You're leaving over one stupid fight. Do you have any idea how upset Sophia is? What are people going to say about our dorm? I paused mid-fold and looked back at her. First, I'm moving out for my own reasons. Not because of anyone here. Second, what you think and what anyone else thinks is none of my business. Third, I paused, glancing pointedly at where she stood in front of my closet. Move. You're in my way. Lily's face turned bright red. She'd probably never seen me stand up for myself like this. Old me had always been gentle, easygoing, even a little soft. That's why they'd always come to me with their problems, dumping all their mess on my plate. She was too angry to speak. Mia hurried over and pulled her aside. I ignored them both and kept packing, books, clothes, toiletries. In my last life, these things had stayed with me in that dorm for 4 whole years. This time I didn't want to stay one more night. I packed fast. Half an hour later, 2 big suitcases were full. I pulled out my phone and called my dad. Hey, Dad. Emma, everything okay? You just moved in today. Dad, I want to move off campus. Terminate my housing contract. There was a pause on the other end. Did something happen? Trouble with roommates? My dad knew me well enough to know I didn't make rash decisions. No, I said, stepping out onto the balcony and lowering my voice. It's just the dorm is really loud. I can't sleep at night. I need quiet to focus. If I'm going to keep my grades up for that grad school program, the words grad school always got to him. I see. He hesitated. Is it safe living off campus by yourself? Totally. There are tons of off-campus student housing communities near school. Really good security. I'm going to pick the closest building I can find. What about rent? I have savings. The scholarship money I won last year is still there. Nonsense, he said immediately. My daughter isn't going to scrape by on her own. I'll transfer you $25,000 first. Find a nice place. Safe place. Call me if you need more. Thanks, Dad. My throat tightened a little. Last time, I'd lied to him about an expensive grad school test prep course, taken $12,000 from him, and given every cent to Sophia. When everything blew up, he'd come to see me at school, and his hair had gone gray overnight. This time, I'd never let him worry about me like that again. I hung up, and the bank deposit notification popped up on my phone. I felt grounded, steady. I grabbed my suitcases and headed for the door. Lily and Mia sat at their desks, silent. The air in the dorm was thick enough to cut with a knife. I didn't care. I stopped in the doorway and glanced back. My bed's free now. If you need extra space, feel free to use it. I pulled the door open and walked out. I didn't look back. I dragged my 2 heavy suitcases down the stairs step by step. The dorm manager looked up, surprised. Whoa, honey, you're leaving already. You just moved in. I'm terminating my housing contract, I said, handing her the form. I pointed to the parent's signature line. My dad sent me a photo of his signature. I copied it over. Is that okay? She looked it over, then looked at me. Sure, honey. Hand me your dorm key and sign the log here. I gave her the key and wrote my name in the register. Emma Bennett. When I finished the last letter, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders like I'd shed a shell I'd been carrying for lifetimes. I dragged my suitcases out of the dorm building. The September sun was bright and warm. I squinted up at it, and for the first time in forever, the future felt bright. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Sophia. Emma, I can't believe you'd do this to me. You humiliated me in front of everyone today. Just wait. You're going to regret this. I read the messages and smiled. Regret. The only thing I've ever regretted is knowing you in the first place. I didn't reply. I long pressed her contact and hit delete. Peace at last. I spent the whole afternoon at a local rental agency, touring apartments. I ended up picking a studio just 500 meters from campus. Fully renovated. All appliances included. Move-in ready. Most importantly, it had great security, keycard access for every entrance. The rent was steep, $1,800 a month. But I signed a 1-year lease without hesitation. Money can fix most problems. Safety and quiet, those were priceless to me. After paying the full year's rent and security deposit with the money my dad sent, I still had plenty left over. I bought a new laptop, stocked up on textbooks, and signed up for an online spoken English class. I filled every minute of my days with study and plans. My new apartment was quiet. At night, I could sit at my desk with my lamp on and read until midnight. No one to disturb. In the morning, I could sleep in, then walk downstairs to the diner for a stack of warm pancakes. No more arguments. No more mindless chatter. No more draining dorm drama. I'd never felt better. Mentally, I loved living alone. Of course, Sophia didn't give up that easy. I deleted her from my contacts, so she started calling me from random numbers. The first time, I was doing listening practice for my English class. I saw the unknown number and hesitated before picking up. Emma. Sophia's voice was sharp on the other end. Why did you delete my number? You're guilty, aren't you? I don't save numbers I don't need, I said calmly. She sputtered, then switched to sniffling, tearful tones. Emma, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have gotten mad at you. Will you move back? Lily and Mia miss you. We need you. Her words made my stomach turn. Last time she'd used that same soft, pleading voice to beg me for help. The second I wasn't useful anymore, she'd tossed me aside like trash. Sorry, I signed a 1-year lease. Then break it. I'll pay the fee, she said immediately. I laughed. Sophia, do you think everyone else is as flaky and unprincipled as you are? What's that supposed to mean? It means I don't want anything to do with you. Stop calling me. I hung up and blocked the number. A few minutes later, another unknown number called. I hung up and blocked that one, too. After 5 or 6 more, the calls finally stopped. I knew this wasn't the end of it. The next day, our majors class group chat blew up. Someone posted a screenshot from the campus anonymous confession page. To the girl from 3002 who moved out, my heart left with you. Are the ordinary guys on campus just not good enough for you? Attached was a blurry atmospheric side profile of me from a campus talent show the year before. The post looked like a confession, but it was clearly a dig. Moved out. Ordinary guys not good enough. Every line was meant to paint me as stuck-up, antisocial, or worse, that I had a sugar daddy off campus. The chat exploded. Wait, isn't that Emma Bennett from our department? She moved off campus. Why? Heard she got a sugar daddy. Thinks the dorm is beneath her. No way. She seems so nice. You never know what people are really like. Lily was the first to message me. Emma, what's this about? Sophia texted right after her. Emma, don't listen to them. It's just jealous people making stuff up. Good cop, bad cop, perfect routine. Their goal was obvious. Put me on the spot. Force me to defend myself. The second I started explaining, I'd be playing right into their hands. Anything I said would get twisted, and the gossip would only get worse. I stared at my screen, expressionless. I didn't type a single word in the group chat. Instead, I pulled up Advisor Davis's contact, sent her the screenshot of the confession page and the chat logs. Ms. Davis, someone is spreading rumors about me on the campus confession page and the whole class is talking about it. It's interfering with my studies. A few minutes later, she replied, got it. I'll handle this. 10 minutes after that, Advisor Davis posted in the class group. The post about Emma Bennett on the campus confession page is malicious falsehood, and I have already requested it be removed. All students are expected to focus on your studies and not spread rumors, posting false content or violating others' privacy and reputation on public platforms can result in legal consequences. Her words were like cold water dousing the gossip fire. The chat, which had been blowing up minutes before, went completely silent. Lily and Sophia didn't say another word. I put my phone down and went back to my textbook. I knew Sophia had more tricks up her sleeve. Sure enough, that weekend I got a call from an unknown number with my hometown area code. My stomach dropped. I had a bad feeling. I picked up. Hello. Hi. Is this Emma? A warm middle-aged woman's voice came through. It is. Who's this? Oh, Emma. It's Sophia's mom. You don't remember me? I brought you local homemade treats when I dropped her off at school. Sophia's mom. Why was she calling me? My chest tightened. That voice. I remembered it. Warm. Friendly. With a kindness that felt impossible to say no to. Last time she'd used that exact voice to say, "Emma, our Sophia is so naive. She doesn't know anything. You have to look out for her at school." And I had. I'd become her second set of hands. Her second set of legs. Her extra wallet. "Hi, Mrs. Reed," I said, my voice flat. "Oh, Emma. Finally. I've called you so many times. You never picked up." "Sorry. My phone was on silent." "Look, honey, I wanted to ask. Did you and Sophia have a fight? She says you won't answer her calls or her texts. She's been home these past few days. Can't eat, can't sleep, just cries all the time. I kept asking her what was wrong, and she wouldn't say. Finally, she told me you moved out of the dorm and won't talk to her." I listened. Silent. I had nothing to say. Sophia's act was flawless. She even had her own mother fooled. "Emma, be honest with me. What happened? You two are best friends. What's there to be upset about? Did Sophia do something to hurt your feelings? You tell me. I'll scold her for it." Her words were perfectly crafted. First, play the sympathy card. Then press for answers like she's already in the right. Then offer a peace offering to lower my guard. If I was still the girl from my last life, I'd already be softening, wondering if I was being too harsh. But I wasn't that girl anymore. "Mrs. Reed, you've got it wrong," I said evenly. "Me moving out has nothing to do with Sophia. It's my own choice. I'm prepping for grad school and I need a quiet place to study." "Well, you can't just up and leave without saying a word." Her voice hardened. "Sophia said you went to the advisor and told her Sophia was distracting you from school." My stomach sank. She was twisting the story already, making me the villain. "Mrs. Reed, I never said a single word about Sophia to the advisor. I only applied to live off campus." "Then why is Sophia so upset?" She pressed. "She said you posted about her on the school forums. Told everyone to ignore her. The confession page incident. Of course, she'd turned it into that story. I'd underestimated how good she was at flipping the narrative." "I didn't," was all I said. Any more explanation would be a waste of breath. There was silence on the other end. I could picture her frowning, trying to figure out which one of us was lying. "Emma," she sighed, softening her tone again. "Can you just do this one thing for me? Please. You're classmates, roommates, you see each other every day. Don't let things get this bad. Sophia is so sensitive. So shy. This is really hurting her. Move back into the dorm." "Okay. For me." I held my phone and walked over to the window. I looked down at the people walking by, the bright sun outside. I felt so grateful to be out of that mess. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Reed. I signed a 1-year lease. I can't break it. And I have class soon. I have to go." I hung up before she could reply, then blocked that number, too. I knew Sophia's mom would call from other numbers, but I didn't care anymore. That mother and daughter were like gum stuck to the bottom of your shoe. The more you fight it, the more they stick. The only way out is to make sure they can't reach you at all. I turned my phone off and sat back down at my desk. My textbook was open to a bolded heading, Rules of Evidence. I picked up my pen and underlined it hard. She was right. In this world, the things that protect you aren't tears or apologies. It's facts and proof. A month passed quietly. In that month, I cut off all contact with everyone from dorm 3002. They didn't reach out to me. I was fine with the peace and quiet. My days followed a simple routine. Apartment, cafeteria, library. My grades shot up. My spoken English, once stilted and awkward, grew smooth and fluent. I even started working on an academic paper of my own. I thought this quiet routine would keep going until that afternoon. It was Tuesday. We had mandatory PE class for all students that afternoon. I'd picked badminton, which met in the gym. Sophia and the others had picked aerobics. Out on the sports field, I finished my game, sweaty, and headed back to my apartment to shower. Right outside the gym, I saw a crowd surge toward the field. I heard people shouting, "Hurry! Someone passed out. It's a girl from the business department. Call 911. My chest tightened. A premonition shot through me, cold and sharp. I stopped walking. I didn't follow the crowd to gawk. I just pulled out my phone and opened our department's year-level group chat. It was already blowing up. Hundreds of messages scrolling by fast. Guys, something bad happened. Sophia Reed passed out during aerobics class. No way. Really? I saw it. She went totally pale and just collapsed. Ambulance is here. They took her already. Oh my God. Heat stroke. Doesn't seem like it. It's not even that hot today. She said she felt sick this morning. Lily and Mia went with her to the hospital. I stared at the messages blank-faced, scrolling fast. My heartbeat was steady. No shock. No pity. Not even a flicker of feeling. It was like watching a movie I already knew the ending to. It was finally happening. I locked my phone, turned, and walked toward my apartment. I left all the noise and chaos behind me. I got home, took a hot shower, changed into clean clothes, and made myself a cup of tea. Then I opened my laptop and kept working on my paper. Characters flickered across the screen, dense and steady. My mind was clearer than ever. Last time, Sophia had passed out during PE 2. Back then, it was winter. During the long-distance run test, I'd been right next to her. I'd been the first one to catch her when she fell. I'd ridden with her in the ambulance. I'd been the first one in that hospital room to see the lab slip that changed everything. Positive pregnancy test. I'd never forget the way the doctor looked at me, a mix of pity and judgment. He probably thought I was the one in the hospital bed. This time, I was sitting in my apartment, miles away from all of it, drinking tea, typing away at my paper. My life had finally completely split off from the path I remembered. My phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. I opened it. It was Mia. "Emma, something really bad happened. Sophia, she's pregnant." Those few words settled everything, like dust falling to the ground. I stared at the text for a long time. Then I typed back 2 words. "Okay." No punctuation. Cold as ice. It was the first time I'd replied to any of them in a month. It would also be the last. I put my phone on silent and set it aside. Outside, the sky darkened. City lights flickered on one by one. I knew from this moment on, Sophia Reed's world was about to be hit by a long, brutal storm. And I was just a bystander watching from the sidelines. The gossip spread faster than I expected. News of Sophia's pregnancy blew through every campus forum and group chat in a single night. There were a dozen different versions. Some said she'd been tricked by some guy. Some said she'd been seeing multiple guys and got caught. The worst ones said she was doing sex work off campus for money. Rumors crashed over her like a tidal wave, threatening to drown her. The next morning, I was in the library doing research when the class group chat blew up again. Someone posted a photo. It was taken in the hallway of the university hospital's inpatient wing. A tall, thin guy was standing there with Advisor Davis, looking angry and frantic. "No way. Is that Ethan from the CS department? What's he doing with Ms. Davis? Where have you been? Ethan's Sophia's boyfriend." "Wait, really? When did that happen? People have been saying it for ages. They just never went public." "So, the baby is his. This is about to get messy." Ethan Hayes. Of course. I remembered that name. Good looking. Came from money. Popular with girls on campus. Last time, he'd hidden behind his parents and washed his hands of the whole thing, dumping all the blame on Sophia and me. I looked at his frantic face in the photo and smiled coldly. The mess was just getting started. At lunch, I went to the campus cafeteria. By some coincidence, I ran into Mia. She looked exhausted, eyes red and puffy like she hadn't slept. She held her tray, hesitated for a long time, then walked over and sat down across from me. "Emma." Her voice was small. I didn't say anything. I kept eating. You know already, right?" I hummed. "Ethan showed up at the hospital last night," Mia said, like she was dying to get it off her chest. "They had this huge fight in the hallway. Ethan said the baby wasn't his." Said Sophia hung out with other guys all the time. Sophia slapped him so hard. Called him a coward. Everyone saw. The advisor was there. She looked furious. The scene she described was exactly what I'd expected. Ethan was the textbook selfish narcissist. The second things went wrong, his first move was always to run and blame someone else. What happened after? I asked. Ms. Davis pulled them into her office. Sophia was crying so hard she almost passed out again. Now she's alone in her hospital room. Won't eat. Won't talk to anyone. Lily's staying with her. Mia sighed, poking at her food. Emma, I'm so scared right now. The advisor talked to us. Asked if we knew Sophia was pregnant. We said we had no idea. I really didn't know. I never would have guessed. Her eyes welled up again as she spoke. I looked at her and felt nothing. If you're this scared now, why did you take her side in the beginning? If either of them had tried to stop me from leaving instead of making snide comments, maybe I would have warned them to stay away from Sophia. But they didn't. So this is what they signed up for. Emma, what do we do? Mia looked at me helplessly. Is the school going to punish us for not saying anything? No. I said evenly. You didn't know. There's nothing to punish you for. She relaxed a little at that. What about you? She asked. Did you know something was up? Is that why you moved out? There was curiosity, even suspicion in her eyes. I set my fork down and looked her dead in the eye. I didn't know. I just knew we walked different paths and didn't belong together. Mia looked away, uncomfortable. We sat in silence for a minute. Then she looked up like she just remembered something. Oh, Emma, there's something I should probably tell you. Sophia called her mom last night. She was crying, saying Ethan left her. And she said Ethan's parents are coming to campus this afternoon. My hand tightened around my water glass. There it was. That rude, entitled couple from my last life. That office confrontation that ruined everything. The source of all my nightmares was finally here. I set my glass down and stood up. I'm done eating. Enjoy yours. I picked up my tray and walked away. Emma, Mia called after me. I didn't look back. I walked fast through the noisy cafeteria. I needed to get back to my apartment, back to my safe, quiet fortress, because I knew the center of the storm was about to shift. Ethan's parents would grab onto anyone they could to shift blame away from their son. And me, the ex-roommate who suddenly moved out, I was the perfect target. I was right. Ethan's parents blew onto campus like a pair of lit firecrackers. They showed up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was in my apartment, but play-by-play updates poured in through every group chat on my phone. Ethan's parents are here. Pulled up in a Mercedes. Total rich people vibe. His mom has a designer bag. His dad's wearing a fancy watch. They went straight to Ms. Davis's office. I walked past, heard them slamming the table. His mom was yelling. My son is innocent. That girl seduced him. Photos, videos, voice notes, all of it flooding the chats. I stared at my screen and it felt like I was back in that afternoon from my last life. Same scene, same lines, rude, entitled, playing the victim card to the fullest. First, they went after Sophia, calling her reckless and immoral, saying she was making it up to extort them. When Ms. Davis showed them the chat logs between Sophia and Ethan, they turned on the school, saying it was poorly run and had terrible morals. Ms. Davis was at her wit's end. I locked my phone. I didn't want to read any more of it. I forced myself to study vocabulary, but I couldn't get that shrill voice of Ethan's mom out of my head. My son is only a sophomore. You're ruining his life. The school owes us answers. And what about that girl's roommates? They lived together. Of course. They knew. They're all in on it. Bring them all here. I want to question every single one of them. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I knew the call was coming. Sure enough. At 4:30, my phone rang. Advisor Davis's name lit up the screen. I stared at it for a few seconds, then answered. Hello, Ms. Davis. Emma. She sounded exhausted. Do you have a minute? Can you come to campus? Is something wrong? It's about Sophia, she said, pausing to find the right words. Ethan's parents want to ask you a few questions. Ask me questions. I laughed a little. Ms. Davis, I moved out of the dorm a month ago. Anything to do with Sophia is none of my business. I know, she said, helpless. But the parents are very upset. They think you knew something. They think, I repeated. On what grounds? Because I moved out. Emma, don't get upset. She soothed. I believe you. Of course. But this is complicated. They're in my office right now, refusing to leave. They specifically asked to see you. They said if you don't come, they're going to call the police and say you extorted them. I went quiet, holding my phone. Disgusting. A new low. Even for them. Last time, the word police had terrified me. I was just a regular student. I'd never dealt with anything like that. I'd run to that office panicking, just wanting to clear my name. And I'd walked right into their trap. They never wanted to ask questions. They wanted to invent an accomplice to take the heat off their son. And I was the easiest target they could find. Emma, you still there? Ms. Davis sounded worried. I'm here, I said, voice cold as ice. Ms. Davis, tell them to wait. I'm on my way. I hung up, but I didn't leave right away. I walked to my desk and pulled open a drawer. Inside was a thin folder. It held everything I'd gathered over the past month. A copy of my housing termination form with the date and housing office stamp clear as day. Screenshots of my call logs with my dad. A copy of my apartment lease. Screenshots of every number Sophia had called me from, all blocked. The chat logs with Ms. Davis from the confession page incident. Even the call logs from Sophia's mom, most I didn't answer. But the records were all there. I arranged them all in order. Neat and organized. Then I slipped the whole folder into my bag. When I was done, I stood in front of the mirror. The girl looking back was pale. But her eyes were steady, unshakable. I tried to smile at my reflection. I couldn't. It didn't matter. I wasn't going there to explain myself. I was going there to fight, every bit of dignity and innocence I'd lost last time. I was going to take it all back with my own 2 hands. When I got to Ms. Davis's office, the door was slightly ajar. I could hear a woman's shrill voice from inside. I don't care. We're not leaving until we talk to this Emma girl. My son told me the one. She took Sophia out partying off campus. Got her into this mess. How can a young girl be so cruel? I pushed the door open. The office reeked of cigarette smoke. A well-dressed, sharp-faced middle-aged woman was yelling right in Ms. Davis's face. Next to her sat a paunchy, scowling middle-aged man. Ethan's parents. No doubt. Ethan himself was hunched on the couch in the corner, head down, avoiding my eyes. Ms. Davis saw me and practically lit up with relief. Emma, thank you for coming. The woman turned immediately, sizing me up from head to toe with those sharp, calculating eyes, like she was appraising merchandise. You're Emma, she said, tone arrogant. I ignored her. I walked straight over to Ms. Davis. You wanted to see me, ma'am? Yes. She pulled out a chair for me. This is Ethan's mother. This is his father. They have a few questions for you. I sat down and looked calmly at the woman. Hello, Mrs. Hayes. Don't call me that, she snapped. I'm not your Ms. Let me ask you, did you know Sophia was pregnant? Straight to the point and loaded. If I said yes, I'd be admitting I was in on it. I had no idea, I said, clear and sharp. No idea. She laughed, loud and bitter. Then why did you move out of the dorm all of a sudden? Don't tell me it was because of bad vibes or whatever nonsense you told her. So Sophia had passed along my ridiculous excuse. I moved out for personal reasons. I needed a quiet place to focus on my studies. I said, steady, liar. She slammed her hand on the table and stood up. My son told me everything. You were jealous of Sophia, jealous she was prettier, richer. So you led her astray. You introduced her to older men off campus. Taught her how to scam people out of money, didn't you? Her words were vile. Even Ms. Davis looked furious. Mrs. Hayes, watch your language. This is a university office. Every word I said is true, she shouted. If she's innocent, why'd she run? Why'd she show up the second we asked for her? She's guilty. That's why. I looked at her and smiled. Are you done? She blinked. clearly caught off guard by my reaction. Good. Now it's my turn. I unzipped my bag and pulled out the folder. I laid each document out on Ms. Davis's desk one by one. Ms. Davis. Everyone, this is my on-campus housing termination form. Submitted September 3rd. First day of classes. At that point, Sophia herself didn't even know she was pregnant. This is my call log with my father, and the bank transfer he sent me. Moving off campus was fully approved by my family. This is my apartment lease. Stamped by the rental agency. These are records of all the phone numbers Sophia used to harass me, every single one blocked. And this, I picked up the last sheet and handed it to Ms. Davis, is the chat log from when someone posted that rumor about me on the confession page. And I reported it to you. With every paper I laid down, Mrs. Hayes's face grew darker. By the time I finished, she was purple with rage. You, she sputtered, pointing at me, unable to get a full sentence out. I didn't stop there. I turned to Ethan, still huddled in the corner, trying to disappear. Ethan. He flinched and looked up at me. You told your mom I led Sophia astray. He wouldn't meet my eyes. I didn't say that, didn't you? I smiled coldly. Then why don't you pull up your chat logs with Sophia right here, right now, in front of your parents and Ms. Davis? Show everyone who kept asking her for designer bags and makeup. Show everyone who told her to deal with it herself when she said she might be pregnant. Show everyone who bailed the second things got messy and tried to blame everyone but himself. All the color drained from Ethan's face. His lips trembled. He couldn't say a single word. The office went dead silent. That's a lie. Mrs. Hayes was the first to break the silence, screaming like a scalded cat. You're making this up. You have no proof. Proof? I looked at her. I see. The proof is in your son's phone. Ms. Davis, I'm asking the school to step in and review Ethan Hayes's phone records and messages. If a single thing I said is false, I'll take full legal responsibility, including the extortion claim you just threw at me. My words were heavy, unshakable. Every sentence landed like a nail driven straight into the table. Ms. Davis's expression turned serious. She glanced at Ethan, pale as a sheet, then at his mother, red-faced and furious. Then she turned to Ethan. Ethan, hand me your phone. He instinctively covered his pocket. Hand it over. Her tone left no room for argument. Ethan's father, the quiet one this whole time, finally spoke up. Ms. Davis, that's my son's personal property, he said, low. The school has no right to look through it. Personal property. I laughed. Where was this concern for privacy when you were slandering me and ruining my reputation for no reason? Where was this concern when your son got a girl pregnant and tried to pin it on an innocent bystander? My voice wasn't loud, but everyone in the room heard every word. Ethan's father stared at me, jaw tight with anger. I stared right back, unflinching. I knew they were scared. The more defensive they got, the more they knew I was telling the truth. Ethan, Ms. Davis said, firmer this time. If you don't hand it over now, we'll have to bring in the Office of Student Conduct, even the police. At that point, this becomes a very different situation. The word police was the final straw. Ethan shook all over. Then fumbled his phone out of his pocket. He wouldn't look at anyone. Head bowed as he handed it over. Ms. Davis took it, but didn't open it right away. She looked at Ethan's parents. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes. We're going to look through these messages right here, right now, in front of all of us, so we can see who's been lying. Mrs. Hayes opened her mouth to argue, but her husband grabbed her arm. He shook his head, face ashen. He knew they'd already lost. Ms. Davis unlocked the phone and pulled up the chat between Ethan and Sophia. The only sound in the room was the quiet swipe of her thumb on the screen. Minutes ticked by. Ms. Davis's frown grew deeper and deeper. Ethan's parents hung their heads lower and lower. Finally, Ms. Davis set the phone down. She looked up at Ethan's parents, her eyes sharp with disappointment and anger. Mr. and Mrs. Hayes, I think the facts are clear from these messages. Your son not only knew about Sophia's pregnancy well in advance, he actively encouraged her to get an abortion and tried to avoid all responsibility. As for Emma, she turned to me, and there was a flicker of apology in her eyes. She has had nothing to do with any of this from start to finish. She hasn't done anything wrong. If anything, she's the victim here of completely baseless accusations. Her words were a final verdict, a death sentence for the Hayes family story, and a full vindication for me. Mrs. Hayes swayed on her feet like she was about to faint. She pointed at her son, lips trembling. You little liar. You told me. She never finished the sentence. Her eyes rolled back and she collapsed. The office erupted into chaos. Mr. Hayes rushed to catch her. Ethan scrambled over too. They called her name, tried to wake her. A total mess. I stood up and quietly gathered my papers back into the folder. I nodded at Ms. Davis. If that's all, Ms. Davis, I'll head out. She looked at the mess around her. Inside, exhausted. Of course. Go on. I'm sorry you had to deal with all this. Emma, it's fine. I turned and walked out of the office. I left all the shouting and chaos behind the closed door. I walked to the end of the hallway and pushed open a window. The evening wind hit my face, cool and sweet. Down below, I saw Mia and Lily standing together, looking up at the building anxiously. They saw me and froze. I ignored them. I pulled out my phone and found a number, Sophia's mom. She'd called me from half a dozen different numbers. I'd blocked them all, but the records were still there. I called one of them. It rang a long time before someone picked up. Hello. It was Sophia. Weak and shaky. It's Emma. Silence on the other end. Why are you calling? Her voice was guarded. Just wanted to let you know something. Ethan's parents were at the school today. They said I led you astray. That I was the one who got you pregnant. They said they were going to call the police on me. I could hear her breathing pick up fast and panicked. I could picture the terrified look on her face. Don't worry, though. My tone shifted. I showed them all the texts where you begged me for money and never paid me back. I told them you scammed all your friends, not just Ethan. I told them your whole act was just a lie. That's not true. I never, guess what? I cut her off. A small cold laugh in my voice. They believed me. Sophia, this is what you owed me. Now we're even. I hung up. I stared at my screen as it went dark and let out a long, slow breath. It felt like all the anger and hurt I'd carried for 2 lifetimes melted away in that moment. The sunset blazed red across the sky. My new life was starting right now. That office fiasco ended with the Hayes family leaving in total disgrace. Mrs. Hayes was taken away in an ambulance, high blood pressure. They said, from the stress. Ethan and his dad were pulled into another, much more serious meeting with Ms. Davis and the department heads. By the time I walked out of the administration building, it was almost dark. Lily and Mia were still waiting downstairs. When they saw me, their expressions were complicated, awkward, guilty, and a little bit scared. Emma, Mia spoke first. We heard what happened. We're sorry. Lily stared at her shoes. Voice small. We were out of line before. I looked at them. These 2 girls I'd lived with day in and day out, one who'd sneered at me, one who'd stood by and said nothing. Now they stood in front of me like kids who'd gotten caught. I didn't say anything. Not because I had nothing to say, but because there was no point. Sorry if sorry fixed anything. The girl from my last life would never have lost everything. Forgive them. Why would I? My life isn't a sketchbook they can scribble all over and then erase with an apology. Don't contact me again. I walked right between them and kept going toward the campus gate. I could feel their stares on my back the whole way. I didn't look back. Some paths, once you choose them, can never be walked together again. I got back to my little apartment and collapsed onto the soft couch. I was exhausted, down to my bones. But I also felt lighter than I ever had before. My phone buzzed. A text from Mia. Emma, I know we don't deserve your forgiveness, but I still wanted to say thank you. Ms. Davis talked to us this afternoon. If you hadn't had all that proof, the Hayes family would have blamed us, too. Thank you. I stared at the text and didn't reply. I knew her thanks was real, but I also knew it came too late. It was just self-preservation. After seeing how ruthless the Hayes were and how I'd stood up for myself, I didn't need that kind of thanks. Over the next few days, Talk of the incident reached a fever pitch across campus. The school's ruling came down fast. Ethan Hayes received a major disciplinary probation for dishonesty and reckless conduct and was stripped of all awards and honors eligibility. He'd been a minor officer in the Student Government Association. That post was removed immediately. I heard his parents came back the next day and filed for a personal leave of absence for him. They left town with their tails between their legs, humiliated. As for Sophia, the school recommended a 1-year personal leave due to the negative impact of the incident on campus. Her name was taken off the 3002 dorm door for good. All the rumors, all the gossip about her being reckless and promiscuous were cleared up when Ethan's chat logs leaked. She wasn't some bad girl. She was just a vain, naive girl who'd fallen for the wrong guy. More and more people started to feel sorry for her, but no one wanted to be her friend anymore. Lily and Mia applied for a room transfer right after everything happened. They couldn't stand to stay in that dorm, full of lies and tears. For one more night, dorm 302 was done for. Sophia's lies had crumbled completely in the face of hard evidence. She'd lost her boyfriend, her reputation, and her friends. The perfect little fake world she built around herself vanished overnight, deserted by everyone she cared about. There was no better way to describe it. Time flew by before I knew it. It was the second semester of my junior year. Over that year and a half, my life was as calm and steady as still water. I won the University Presidential Merit Scholarship twice. I published 2 papers in peer-reviewed academic journals. My spoken English was fluent enough that I could hold full academic discussions with my professors without hesitation. My guaranteed graduate school spot was basically a lock. I got close with advisor Davis too. She'd call me into her office sometimes, not to handle problems, but to talk about research. I was one of her top students. She never mentioned Sophia or Ethan again, like they'd never been part of my life at all. I barely thought about them either. Every now and then, I'd run into Lily or Mia in the library or the hallway. They had new dorms, new friend groups. Every time they saw me, they'd give me an awkward little nod from far away. I'd nod back, polite. Then we'd walk past each other. There was a gap between us that could never be crossed. That gap was made of the tears and blood of my last life and the choices I'd made in this one. I thought my time with Sophia was over until that spring afternoon. I was putting together materials for my grad school interview. My phone rang, unknown number, local area code. I thought it was takeout or a delivery, so I picked up. Hello. Silence on the other end, long enough that I almost hung up. Then a voice spoke, familiar but different. Emma. It was Sophia. Her voice wasn't sweet, wasn't sharp like I remembered. It was rough, tired, worn down by life. I paused. What do you want? I'm back. I came back. I'm a junior now. Restarting. Okay. I saw the grad school list on the bulletin board. Congratulations. Thanks. You're doing really well. Huh? Yep. My coldness threw her off. More silence. Emma, I wanted to say I'm sorry. For how I treated you a year ago. And for before that. For using you. I said nothing. I was so stupid back then. I thought Ethan really loved me. I thought if I gave him everything he wanted, he'd stay. I thought because you were my friend, you'd always be there to help me no matter what. I never thought my selfishness would hurt you this bad. I'm sorry. She said it again, voice thick with held back tears. If I had heard that apology back in my last life, when everyone was against me and my life was ruined, I probably would have broken down crying. But now, my heart was calm. Sophia, I said, it's all in the past. You didn't wrong me. You wronged yourself and your own life. Take care of yourself. I hung up. I didn't want to listen to her regrets. I didn't want anything to do with her anymore. Our lives had gone in completely different directions the second I woke up reborn that afternoon. She had to pay the price for her vanity and her mistakes. And I was going toward my bright, wide-open future. Another year passed. I got into the graduate program at our university with a spot in the combined master's and PhD program. My advisor was a well-known professor in the field. He thought highly of me, gave me spots on all his big research projects. My life was busy, full, and hopeful. Every now and then, I'd see Sophia from far away across campus. She looked like a different person. No more pretty dresses, she always wore plain t-shirts and jeans. No more makeup, just her bare face. Hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She was always alone, carrying a heavy backpack, walking fast. There was none of that old pride or spark in her face, just a weariness way beyond her years. I heard she lost the baby during her year off. The Hayes family paid her a settlement, hush money, but her reputation never recovered. When she came back, no one wanted to work on group projects with her. No clubs would let her join. She was invisible, shut out by everyone. She studied hard, tried to prove herself with her grades, but after missing a whole year, she struggled to keep up. When senior year ended, she didn't get a good job offer, and she didn't get into grad school. Last I heard, she moved back to her hometown, working a basic office job at a small company. The last time I saw her was at graduation. It was a beautiful sunny day. I was the commencement student speaker up on the stage. I stood there in my master's gown under the lights, looking out at the crowd of graduates. My gaze drifted to a corner by accident. I saw her. She was in her bachelor's gown, huddled in the very back, out of sight. She was looking at me, too. There was envy in her eyes, regret, jealousy, and a sadness I couldn't name. Our eyes met for one single second. Then she looked down fast. I turned my attention back to my speech. The future holds endless possibility. May we all make the most of our youth and stay true to ourselves. The crowd erupted in applause. After the ceremony, I took photos with my friends by the campus gate. I saw her alone, dragging her suitcase, walking silently out of the school gates. Her back was thin, lonely. She vanished into the crowd just a second later. I stared in the direction she'd gone and felt nothing. Everyone has to live with the consequences of their choices. She chose to rely on others, to take what she could get, and the world left her behind. I chose to stand on my own 2 feet, to build my own future. And I earned my life back. A friend tapped my shoulder. Emma, what are you looking at? I turned and smiled. Nothing. Come on, let's go celebrate graduating. Hell yeah. I turned and walked with my friend straight toward the bright golden sunlight. Behind me was the noisy campus and a youth I'd never get back. Ahead of me was a brand new life and a future I could almost reach out and touch. I knew this time I was finally on the right path.